Welcome to Gospel Tangents, the best source for Mormon history, science, and theology. I'm Rick Bennett. What's on the Brazil plates? We're going to find out more with Dr. John Pratt, so check out our conversation. So you've moved on from Denver Snuffers movement, is that a fair statement?
No, Jim Denver Snuffer made the statement that he's never going to start a church, and so that we could all be members of any church we want to. And he said, if somebody's Baptist or somebody's from any church, and they want to come here and maybe still support their church, but still covenant directly with God, that's fine. So I find this other church that I like, so I joined the other church, but I'm still in his group. And so I've given talks at General Conference in his group, and then the next week I've gone and given a talk in a General Conference.
In this Brazilian group?
In the Brazilian group.
Okay. So tell us about the Brazilian group, and how did you get associated with them?
Well, okay, now here's where I'm going to keep drinking water here so I don't wear out. So somebody, a friend, in April of 2019, a friend sends me a link that says, hey, a guy in Brazil claims to the Angel Moroni visited him, gave him the golden plates, he's translated them, and it just came out on March 26th, 2019.
Well, that's an interesting date.
Yeah, and I perk up, and I had looked at Krishna Melka's book that came out in 2005. I had looked at, I try to be open to, let's look at this. So they cost a whole $5. It's a 200-page book. It was on Amazon. $5. Obviously, nobody was making any money on this. That's the cost of printing. So I buy one, read it, and I believe it.
This is it
was called the Sealed Book of Mormon.
Okay.
And it's a translation. The story behind it is that this man in Brazil had Angel Moroni appear to him. Well, first, several angels. Angel Raphael came to him first and told him the long-term thing. And then Angel Moroni comes and spends years with him and 3 witnesses, teaching them what they need to know before he's actually given the plates, the Urim and Thummim, and the sword of Laban. So here's a man, if you open the book, here's a man, and his first question was, by the way, why me? Which if you read all through the Bible, every prophet's first question, why me? And anyway, but his name is Mauricio Berger, German name, and he's German descent, a lot of Germans in southern Brazil. And he said, why not somebody in the United States? He was LDS, member of the LDS church. And the answer was, nobody in the United States is worthy to do it, which is quite a statement. Anyway, he is given the Urim and Thummim, the interpreter stones.
Not a seer stone.
Not one seer stone. He's given the ones in the
same ones that Joseph Smith
same
used?
Ones Joseph Smith used.
So the spectacles and the breastplate.
Well, he didn't get, to my knowledge, he didn't get the breastplate. At some point, I think Joseph disconnected them from the breastplate because they were set up to wear the breastplate, which would hold something, which would hold them in front of your eyes like a pair of glasses. There were better ways to do that with all that paraphernalia. Yeah, and so, but there are 2 stones, and there's one for each eye.
Clear, so they're kind of like glasses, basically.
Basically, yes. And the Joseph Smith, you've read the descriptions of and it looks like a kind of large pair of glasses. And he was taught how to use them. The amazing thing is, to me, was he translated both into Portuguese, his native language, and English, which he no speaky. He does not speak English. I can verify this. I know him and have met him and stayed with him for a week and 2 weeks, actually.
I thought he was German.
Oh, well, he's in Brazil. Okay. German descent. German.
So he doesn't speak German or anything?
No, he doesn't speak German. But I mean, the German ancestry. Totally. I believe. I mean, he doesn't have any of the darker skin. Brazil is a real mix.
Does he look white or
yeah,
German
completely,
or European, I guess?
completely. He looks German, but I worked in a city in southern near where he is called Novo Hamburgo, which is New Hamburg, and in that city they all did. Now that's just 50 years ago. They still did speak German. And there are whole German colonies down there. There's also Russian colonies, and they all blend together. There's no racism at all down there. They have no clue what that would mean. They're all intermarry and all of everything. Why am I telling you that? Oh, because he happens to have a German name, and he looks like German ancestry. But all the speaking German was gone 50 years ago. Now everybody speaks Portuguese. Okay, so he speaks Portuguese, but he translated into English. And so he had two scribes sitting there, one an American and one Brazilian, and he would do a paragraph about first into Portuguese and then into English. But that's pretty amazing.
So he had a scribe that was doing this? Or
He had
did
two
he do it all himself?
scribes.
Two scribes. Oh, so he had an English scribe and a Portuguese
Right.
scribe. Okay.
And they did the writing. So it's like Joseph Smith on steroids or something, you know. I mean, that's hard. I mean, what if it was Swahili? What if you were, you're going to translate into... So it's a little rough. People read it and say, oh, this English is just a little rough. It's not like the Book of Mormon, which is all smooth. Well, yeah, it's amazing that it's there at all. Come on, read what it says and look for the truth and not criticizing. Anyway, I read that and believed it. So let me get to the short thing. So the short thing is, in May, I published a book review of it that says, this looks authentic to me, and I believe it. And it was
May of this year.
May of 2019.
2019.
The month after I read it. And they read, and I didn't think, by the way, I didn't think it was a good idea to do that. I kind of felt inspired that I had to do it because I already do this weird stuff with sacred calendars that we talked about. And I'm already off in Denver Snuffers group. And now I'm going to write a book review of this book, which everybody else is going to think is, bogus. And it didn't sound like a good career, move for me.
Church career.
Well, any career, I mean, even the scientific career. It's like, where's this guy? Where is he going? But I felt like I had to do it because I didn't think anybody else would. And they haven't. In the 2 years since, I don't know one other positive book review of the book. Just a book review. And, they get wind of this in Brazil and liked it. And I got invited to speak at their general conference in November.
In Brazil? In
Brazil. And I felt like I should go. So I did. This was before COVID. This is 2019. And I went down. It turned out, that's another story, but it turned out they gave me the whole afternoon session. I thought I'd be speaking 20 minutes, and they gave me all 2 hours of an afternoon session of conference. And I just was going down to speak. And the long story short is when I got there, my feet following what I believe is the Spirit tells me I should be baptized. The first thing I told him, I stayed with Mauricio the whole week, so I got to stay with him and know who he is and everything, feel his Spirit. And then I said, hey, I'm going to be baptized. See, I've explained to you already that baptism's not joining a church. And he understands that. And so I said, hey, I think I'm going to be baptized, but I have no intention of joining your church. I'm already, with them, snuffer, and I'm fine. I'm, made a covenant with the Lord. And he said, oh, that's fine. That's a lot more than I expected. So fine. So I got baptized, and then that was
So this is your third baptism?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Going for a record. I'm getting the merit badge. And so, and then I'm sitting there, that's Saturday afternoon, and Sunday morning they're doing, at the conference, they're doing the confirmations. And I hear the Spirit say to me, so, wouldn't you like to be a member of this church? And I said, hey, I'm already with Denver Snuffer, right? And this Spirit says, is Denver ever going to start a church? And I said, no. And I could see where this was going. And I said, well, you know, wouldn't you like to be a member? And I love Brazilians. I love everything about Brazilians. I worked in the same city on my mission in Brazil. I was in the same city where Mauricio had his vision of Raphael in a grove at the University of Santa Maria. I have been to that university, and I worked there 5 months, 10 years before he was born. So, and I
what
speak
city
Portuguese.
is this? What city?
Santa Maria.
Santa Maria.
St. Mary. In Rio Grande do Sul. I can't even say it in English. Rio Grande of the South. What a beautiful language Portuguese is. Rio Grande do Sul. You know, it's just... Anyway, I've been set up for this. I speak Portuguese. I worked in the cities. Anyway, so I'm confirmed a member, and I feel this fire shooting down my back, and I was not expecting anything at a confirmation. And then after that, that's on Sunday, I'm going home on Tuesday, and sometime on Monday, he said, Angel Moroni has told me, he's in contact with Angel Moroni all the time. And he said, he's told me that you are to be one of the witnesses of the sealed book. And I said, but it's already published. Oh, I didn't say this. They had 3 witnesses that saw Angel Moroni and everything. But they had 8 witnesses, like Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon, 8 witnesses that just saw the plates. And he said, you've been chosen to be one of the witnesses to see the plates. And I said, you already got, 8 witnesses. And he said, oh, no, but actually there's 2 parts. Oh, I should explain some of the answers to questions. We should talk about, Hoffman characters. We should talk about a lot of things. But it turns out he's only going to translate, the plates are 6 inches tall, and they're tight, and they're sealed tightly at the bottom, and there was a band over some, and there's 42 plates. Whoops.
I'm just going to try to zoom out a little bit so I can see your fingers a little bit better.
Oh, I'm saying the whole stack is 6 inches tall. It used to be 2/3 of it was sealed, and the top 1/3 was both the Book of Lehi that was lost and the Book of Mormon that we have. Well, there's about a 1/6 that takes it down to half. The bottom half is totally sealed with 2 big rivets through the whole thing, like a nail with head on both sides shut. But there were 42 plates that Mauricio was allowed to unseal in the presence of the 3 witnesses and the 8 witnesses. So there's 12 people that saw that being unsealed. Of those 42 plates, he has translated the first 19 into this book called the Sealed Book. Now it's called the Sealed Book instead of just the Sealed Book of Mormon because of litigation with the LDS Church that has copyrighted Mormon's name.
I thought we weren't Mormons anymore.
They've copyrighted that name. And
the Book of Mormon is a copyrighted name?
No, the name Mormon is a copyrighted. What if they copyrighted, the name John, or Jeff or something? I mean, I don't think the church is going to win the litigation, but it turns out. Anyway, so the name's been changed to just the Sealed Book. But it's only 19 plates that he's translated, and there's going to be another 23 plates that he's still going to translate. I will be one of the witnesses of the next part that comes out of the 23 plates.
There's
different set of
there's
witnesses.
A sequel coming.
There's a sequel coming. But it doesn't come till we learn to live by what's in the first part. Okay. So at some point I'd like to explain I am explaining about the plates now. I'd like to explain kind of what's in them and why
go
we
ahead.
should even read them.
Go ahead.
But, well, let's finish this first. So basically, I will be one of the witnesses of the next batch coming out. So I can just testify. I have seen and held in my hands. I've always wanted to know what they weighed. When I was about 18, I figured out what a solid block of gold would.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was deciding, I believed all of this story. And I think I come up with like 80 pounds or something. I thought, aha, I've proven it's false because, this kid couldn't run with it, 80 pounds,
Well, Sandra Tanner has
Oh, bless her heart.
a replica of the gold plates made out of lead, which she said is not as heavy as gold.
Not as gold as heavy, that's right.
And it's
13.
really heavy.
Right. Well, I did that without making the replica. I knew how to look up the density of gold, and so I did that.
So
when
are
I
these
was
made out
18.
of copper or something? Not as...
No. It's gold. There's air in between the pages, and it's probably 18 karat gold, which just means 75%. So it has part copper. It's not pure. They're not pure.
They
gold.
haven't done any scientific testing on it or
No.
anything.
And just think back to the days of Joseph Smith, where nobody got to see that. The whole idea was, here's a Book of Mormon, here's a story that goes with it, if you want to know where it came from. But read the book, and you can find out that it's true. We're saying the same thing. Read this book. And if you want to figure out what it might have weighed or not weighed, or if these characters...
So how much did it weigh? I mean, did you pick it up?
45 pounds. I
About
picked
45
it up. And
pounds.
I have weights. I work out with
So
weights.
it's not solid gold, it's partial gold.
It's...
18 karat is what you said.
Well, if you buy something that's 18 karat gold, you're going to call it, I have a gold ring.
Yeah.
It's 18 karat. You don't say, well, technically it's 75%. And then
Right.
it's
Because 24 karat gold would be solid gold.
That's right. 24 karat is solid, 18 is 75%. You look at it, it's gold. I just got a new phone. I have all this on my website. I should say there's two websites. One is johnpratt.com. I have, but that has all of my articles. For this new church, there's a website called Second Invitation, all one word, .info. And that has little tabs for the history of the church, a bunch of articles. I have study classes where we're going through all the chapters of the sealed book and what does it say. So all I have pictures. They allowed us to take pictures. So they have a picture of me holding it. But I do have weights. I have a 45-pound dumbbell at home. My best guess is 45 pounds. And if you look at the days of Joseph Smith, the weights they say that actually lifted them say it's between 30 and 60 pounds, and 45 is right in the middle of that where I am. And I had somebody last week reject it. Oh, it's got to be at least 70 pounds. And I said, Emma Smith picked them up. They were on the table covered with cloth. She was able to pick them up to do dusting and move them. And I don't think she's going to pick up, 70 pounds. That's heavy, 70 pounds with your hands.
45 pounds is heavy.
Yeah. They were a little nervous. I got a picture of me holding them, and they were thinking, this old guy, don't drop him. And but I wouldn't want to hold much more than, 45 is still quite a bit to hold in your hands. Anyway, I got to see them. They have characters on both sides. So,
can I ask you this?
Yes.
Because I got about 1,000 questions here, but the first one that pops up is James Strang. Okay. So he had the Vori plates, and those were actually dug up by non-Mormons. And have there been any outside, any quote unquote Gentile witnesses of these, like James Strang had?
I don't think so. All the witnesses I know, most of them come from the RLDS, the Missouri group. Mauricio went first to the LDS church in Utah and to ask for 8 witnesses, and they declined. So his second, and he was actually told exactly what to do with Missouri by Moroni, to go there, to write there and that write to certain people. That's another story. We got to go to that. So they all the first 8 witnesses are from Missouri, and from one of the branches in Missouri. They're not all
like restoration branches or
restoration
branches.
branches.
Okay.
Some were from Temple Lot.
I was going to say I've heard about
the
Temple Lot.
Zarahemla branch that broke off from the Community of Christ when it rejected the Book of Mormon and things, and the various restoration branches there.
Okay.
And that's another story.
Yeah.
But let me just finish my actual witness thing. There's one thing I had heard after I was a witness. Somebody wrote and asked me this. I got to be a witness twice, actually, because I was there when somebody else got to be a witness. And I didn't notice it the first time. But someone said, hey, excuse me. I always mock the people that ask me these questions. I shouldn't do that. Hey, I read that. But they said, hey, the one account says that there was black in the engravings. Did you see any black? And I said, no. What I saw was just, engraved in gold. They said, well, so-and-so said there was engraved. The next time I got to look, I looked, and the first 2 plates at the very top, Book of Lehi, sure enough, someone has put in a black, and I got a picture of this in one of my articles. I have a picture of where it stops, which is, I think, the second plate.
Can I use these pictures on your website?
Anything on my website you can use.
Okay.
And the top 2 plates somebody did, and I think it's Joseph Smith. My guess, Moroni wouldn't. He did the whole thing in Mormon. But he had put black in there so he could read it better. And sure enough, they stood out really nice. But after 2 pages, none of the rest have that. And you don't need that.
Is this like black crayon or something?
Well, they're just engraved. You've seen engravings, and look at your wedding ring, and there's something engraved. You can read it. You don't have to say, "Oh, I need black ink in there, or I can't read this."
Is it ink in there? Or
on the first 2 pages, it looks like something like, ink, something very black has been put in and then rubbed off so that it just stayed in the cracks. So it looks like black letters.
So it's a little easier to see.
But after the first 2 pages, none of the rest are that way. And that's why I first said, no, they're not black. But when I went back and looked, the very first 2 pages do have that. So it looks like Joseph Smith thought he needed that to see the characters well enough. And then he realized he didn't. And it wasn't worth doing. So that was one of those technical questions that... Anyway, I was astounded when I saw them. And I knew, there's no doubt in my mind, those are the real thing. This is not a fraud. It would cost a fortune to make a big stack of gold plates, to engrave these characters on both sides. There's no way they had that money, but that's just logic. I got a spiritual witness that these are indeed the real plates of Mormon that were being shown.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Dr. John Pratt. In our next conversation, we'll talk about allegations of forgery. Supposedly, when asked for proof of the golden plates, the Brazil group offered a Hoffman forgery. How does John respond to that accusation?
Hoffmans have these side marks, and the ones copied by the people in the 1820s and 1830s, or the 1829 time frame, don't have those, so they must not have copied them as carefully. So we're going to say Hoffman is the original because he had more detail, okay? Now we're just talking about Hoffman and his forgeries now, okay? He was a very good forger, okay? Now you look at Mauricio's. Mauricio's do not have the other little marks that Hoffman added. If Mauricio had copied Hoffman, some of them would have had some of these little marks which he added, which are not on the 4 original sources.
If you'd like to hear the entire interview uncut, please subscribe for just $5 a month at patreon.com. youtube.com/Gospel Tangents, and you can hear the entire interview before everybody else. If you'd like to watch the entire video for just $8 a month, you can either subscribe on YouTube, Patreon, or my website, gospeltangents.com. Just click the yellow subscribe button, and I'll add you to our Gospel Tangents Insiders group so that you can see entire videos. For those interested in a PDF transcript, you can subscribe at either Patreon or on my website. For just $10 a month, I'll send you a PDF as soon as it's complete. If you'd like a copy of the paperback as well as a PDF, just sign up for $20 a month at either Patreon or my website, gospeltangents.com. Of course, you can buy individual transcripts at Amazon.com and just do a search for Gospel Tangents interview, and you can see all the things that we have there. Don't forget to support Gospel Tangents with an awesome t-shirt like one of these. You can subscribe at Apple Podcasts at tinyurl.com/gospeltangents. Get our latest updates at facebook.com/gospeltangents. Also, you can get our Twitter updates at Gospel Tangents. Click here to subscribe, here for a transcript, and over here we've got more of our great videos. Thanks again.